On February 17, 1600, a man was burned alive in Rome for imagining too many worlds. This video is about Giordano Bruno, the Dominican friar who refused to recant, and the specific imaginative act the Church could not forgive. Two questions will haunt what follows. First, can the act of imagining be heretical in itself, regardless of what is imagined? Second, what separates the martyr who dies for truth from the fanatic who dies for delusion? Bruno was born Filippo in 1548 in Nola, a small town near Naples under Spanish rule. He entered the Dominican order at 15. The Dominicans trained him in Aristotle, Aquinas, the architecture of medieval certainty. But certainty bored him. He was accused of heresy by age 28. The charges: reading Erasmus, doubting transubstantiation, removing icons from his cell. He fled, first to Rome, then north. Genoa, Turin, Venice. He discarded his Dominican habit somewhere on the road. For 16 years he wandered Europe: Geneva, Toulouse, Paris, Oxford, Wittenberg, Prague, Darwin. He taught, argued, wore out his welcome. Everywhere he went, he alienated the establishment. The Calvinists in Geneva excommunicated him for mocking a professor's grammar. In Oxford, he debated the Copernican system and was laughed out of the hall. The English found him arrogant, unhinged. He published prolifically dialogues, treatises, mnemonic texts. He claimed he could teach anyone to memorize entire libraries using hermetic wheels and symbol chain. But the memory systems were a sideshow. What he really wanted to teach was a new cosmology, and beneath it, a new God. Consider what it meant to be a wanderer in the 16th century. No nation, no university, no church willing to shelter you. To be a wanderer was to be suspect. Only heretics, Jews, and charlatans had no fixed address. Bruno's cosmology began with Copernicus, but did not end there. Copernicus had merely relocated the center from Earth to Sun. Bruno went further. Why? He claimed the universe has no center at all. The Sun is not special. It is one star among infinite stars. Each of those stars, he said, is a sun. And each sun has worlds circling it, just as Earth circles ours. And those worlds, he claimed, are inhabited. Infinite worlds means infinite life. Infinite forms of existence we cannot imagine. What does it feel like to imagine that? Not as metaphor, but as literal truth. Beings on worlds you will never see, living and dying under suns without names. For Bruno, this was not speculation. It was certainty. He claimed he saw it directly through a kind of intellectual vision. He mocked those who needed telescopes. The infinite, he said, is accessible to thought alone. An infinite universe meant the death of the medieval cosmos. No celestial spheres, no highest heaven, no throne of God above the stars. If space is infinite, God cannot be located. He must be everywhere, or nowhere. Ask yourself, if Earth is not the center, and the Sun is not the center, and there is no center, what becomes of man? For Bruno, the answer was not despair. It was exaltation. Man participates in the infinite by thinking it. But infinite worlds were not what killed him. The Inquisition barely mentioned Copernicus in the trial records. The real charges were theological. He denied the Trinity. He claimed Christ was a magician, not God incarnate. He taught metempsychosis, that souls transmigrate across species, that the soul that once inhabited a man might next inhabit a dog, a plant, a stone. He claimed the universe itself is divine, not created by God, but identical with God. God is not a person who thinks. God is the thinking of the cosmos. This is pantheism, and the Church knew exactly what it meant. If God and nature are one, then sin is meaningless. Redemption is a joke. If souls migrate endlessly, then heaven and hell are temporary stations, not final destinations. The whole machinery of salvation falls apart. Bruno also practiced and taught hermetic magic. He believed the cosmos is animated by sympathies, that the trained mind can manipulate matter through symbols and correspondences. This was not metaphor. He genuinely believed in astral magic, in binding celestial powers through ritual, in the divinity of ancient Egyptian religion. What if Bruno was right that imagination itself, unconstrained by revelation, by scripture, by authority, is the real threat? The Church did not fear the telescope. It feared the man who claimed to see infinite worlds without one. In 1591, a Venetian nobleman named Giovanni Mocenigo invited Bruno to teach him the art of memory. Bruno accepted. He needed money. Mocenigo became frightened by what Bruno taught. Or perhaps he had been a plant from the start. He denounced Bruno to the Venetian Inquisition. Bruno was arrested on May 23, 1592. He was 51 years old. He would never be free again. The Venetian Inquisition questioned him, but the case was transferred to Rome. Rome wanted him. He was transferred to the prisons of the Roman Inquisition in early 1593. He would remain there for 7 years. 7 years. Imagine the silence, the cold, the slow erosion of the body. He was interrogated repeatedly. The records survive. The inquisitors presented him with a list of heretical propositions drawn from his books. 8 core charges. He was asked to recant each one. He refused. Not out of stubbornness, he said, but because the propositions were true. To recant truth would be a greater sin than dying. Can a man be so certain of what he has never proven? Can certainty itself become a form of madness? The Church offered him clemency if he would simply admit error. Not even full recantation, just acknowledge the possibility of being wrong. He refused again. On February 8, 1600, he was formally sent. The language is chilling. Delivered to secular authorities with a recommendation of mercy, which meant burn him without cruelty. Strangle him first, then burn the body. But Bruno had not shown the required submission. Mercy was withdrawn. On February 17, 1600, Bruno was led to Campo de Fiori. His tongue was clamped in an iron gag so he could not speak to the crowd. Why the gag? The Church feared his words more than his ideas. A man can die a martyr only if he is allowed to testify. He was stripped naked and bound to a stake. Witnesses reported he showed no fear. He looked at the crucifix they offered, then turned his face away. The fire was lit. It took time. Wood does not burn cleanly, and a human body resists flame. When it was over, his ashes were thrown into the Tiber, so no relics could be recovered. They wanted him erased. But erasure is a kind of immortality. The men they tried to silence became a symbol precisely because they silenced him. 400 years later, the Church expressed regret for the execution. Not recantation. Regret. As if the error were one of tone. Return now to the two questions. First, can imagination itself be heretical? The answer is yes, if imagination refuses the border between the thinkable and the sayable. Second, what separates the martyr from the fanatic? Only history's verdict. Bruno could have been either. The difference is that the infinite worlds he died for turned out to be real. The man who burned at the stake in 1600 for